Hey, Cabinet, what's going on? Oh man, it's been insane. It's a lot going on in the world. We have a lot to talk about. Since our last meeting, during those interesting that interesting presidential debate, we have a lot to catch up on. Since the last time we have talked, your president has gotten a mugshot taken, bitch. It's giving Olin Mills. It's giving glamour shots by Deb. You've all seen the memes. We all know what's going on. We're going to get into a little bit more about that as well. We also have the United Auto Workers on strike, bitch. Everybody is going on strike. Nobody can afford shit. People are tired. They're like, fuck it. Then we have the big elephant in the room, among other things that we're going to talk about, Hunter Biden. Now, Hunter Biden is really becoming a pain in the ass. It's no other way. It's just no other way to explain the shit. It's no other way to describe it. You're being a goddamn nuisance. You're a pain in the ass. So, Hunter Biden, he's had these issues in the past with drug addiction, which my heart goes out to people who are suffering with drug addiction. It is a tough thing. I've seen it in my life. It's terrible. However, he has been doing the most. Now, one could argue that this is definitely politically motivated, and to some degree, it really is. However, let's take a look at the fucking facts, people. Now, President Joe Sons is coming from the Associated Press. President Joe Biden's son, Hunter Biden, has been indicted by special counsel David Weiss in connection with a gun he purchased in 2018. The first time in U.S. history the Justice Department has charged a child of a sitting president. The three charges include making false statements on a federal firearms form and possession of a firearm as a prohibited person. Now, for those of you who are not gun owners, you don't purchase guns, what have you, there are certain forms in certain places you have to fill out stating that when they say you're a prohibited person, meaning in some cases it could be you're not currently using drugs. It could mean that you haven't been arrested for domestic violence. It could mean a number of things, right? So allegedly, according to this indictment, Hunter Biden's gun-related legal troubles involve a firearm he purchased in October 2018 while buying a revolver. First of all, who buys a revolver? Okay, whatever. At a Delaware gun shop. He lied on a federal form where he swore that he was not using and was not addicted to any illegal drugs, even though he was struggling with the crack cocaine addiction at the time of the purchase. Hunter Biden provided a written statement on Form 4473 certifying he was not an unlawful user of and addicted to any stimulant, narcotic drug, and any other controlled substance, when in fact, as he knew, that statement was false and fictitious, according to the indictment. Now, I'm not trying to be funny, but I have never met a crack addict that told me the goddamn truth when they wanted something from me. That's just me. That's just me. Okay. Now, he is, from what has been stated, has gotten over, his cocaine addiction, even though they found cocaine in the White House, bitch. Recently, y'all remember that? They was finding cocaine in the White House. So, but allegedly he got past that, right? So I'm not going to get hung up on that. But they're stating that at the time he filled out the form that he knew he was using drugs. Like I said, I've never met an addict that told me the goddamn truth when they wanted money from me. I don't understand. Furthermore, here's where it gets interesting, and, the powers that be are kind of out to lunch. Most citizens who lie on this form, with the exception of you being a murderer or something like that, it would not be this huge of a thing. They may get a fine, they may do some community service, they may serve like some minor, amount of jail time, 30 days, something, minor. This is where it does become politically motivated, in that by him being President Biden's son in an election term, for something that historically would not go this far, right? Now, the thing is this: Hunter Biden had a sweetheart deal with the government earlier that fell through. I believe we talked about that previously. You can go check my previous meetings for that. He had a deal that fell through. So the deal was, supposed to be, it was looked at as a slap on the wrist by one of these federal judges, which we all know a lot of the federal judges that have been put in place were put in place during the Trump era. Elections matter in more ways than one. And the judge contested it, saying that basically it was a slap on the wrist, and that, this deal was in so many ways unethical. So they took the deal off the table. Now they're charging them with this. Now, to be very frank, these charges are still minor compared to some of the other things that he was in hot water for, if we're being honest, with his dealings with foreign governments and policies and cash transactions and all kinds of crazy shit that Hunter was involved in. My thing is this. Here's why I do not feel bad for Joe Biden, even though I voted for him and even though I know this is politically motivated. And here's why. And I may lose some of you on this. This is what happens when you have a problem child who is a problem child, and you continue to coddle them throughout their life. Hunter Biden, from all accounts, has always been a problem child that suffered little to no consequences for that. When you don't nip it in the bud early, it continues, and it gets bigger, and it gets bigger, and it gets bigger. So now we have a situation where you're in the middle of an election year, election cycle, where your approval rating is at 36% the last time I checked. You have the United Auto Workers on strike now, which we're going to get to. You have Hollywood on strike, writers, actors. You have inflation that is kicking people's ass, myself included, because $20 might as well be $5 in this economy. Okay. All of these things compounded, and then your son is now being indicted. I am personally hoping for the best for Joe Biden, but this does not look good, okay? And the fact that you have a person like Donald Trump who is now indicted with a mugshot, and he's still leading the field in Republican candidates. The other Republican candidates are out in Iowa as we speak, trying to get the people riled up behind them. The fact that you have a 36% approval rating, and people are actually, I think it was it CNN? It was someone that did a poll that said that I think about 60% or something like that, give or take, of Democrats would prefer a different candidate to run in this election. That's not good. It also does not help that, and we're having a frank conversation right now. This is not me saying that I won't vote for Joe Biden if he's the candidate, because I probably will, okay? I'm a Democrat. But me being a Democrat does not mean that I do not look at things from all views, right? That's what's missing in this country right now is that people have their jerseys on and they're not looking at all things objectively. The reality is there's a lot of issues, and Joe Biden really doesn't help himself because, between, the falling off the stages, the, speeches that go nowhere, it's a lot of things that need assistance. And then reports are saying that, he doesn't want to talk about it to people. His staff is walking on eggshells around him with this whole case. Sir, respectfully, you need to get out in front of this. And you need to be talking to your staff because you have to figure out how you're going to get the American people to vote for your ass again. Because right now, it's not looking cute. So we're going to see how this goes with Hunter Biden. But this is a textbook example of what happens when you spare the rod and spoil the child. It comes back to bite you in the ass. You're also facing possible impeachment. Let's talk about that, okay? So Kevin McCarthy, which we already know, Kevin McCarthy won the speakership by the skin of his teeth anyway. We sat through 800,000 votes for him to finally become the speaker because he was being held hostage by a small contingent of extreme right-wing conservatives who basically got him by the balls, okay? They want to initiate an impeachment probe for President Biden, okay? Kevin McCarthy was kind of against it. He was like, are we really going to waste time doing this, right? They basically said, if you don't do it, we're going to oust you. Well, in a surprise turn of events, I don't know, maybe Kevin had his Wheaties, maybe he, had a Red Bull, maybe he was just feeling it. He said, go ahead and do it. So, once again, an angry and frustrated Kevin McCarthy, unable to lead a fractured and unruly Republican majority, on Thursday told colleagues threatening to oust him to do it. The embattled Republican leader essentially dared his hard right flank to quit holding the risk of a vote to remove him from the job. If you're going to do it, go ahead and try, McCarthy told the Republicans behind closed doors. In quotes, file the fucking motion, McCarthy said, using profanity for emphasis, according to those problems. Kevin is sick of that shit. He is sick of that shit. Okay? He's like, fuck it. Go ahead, file the claim. File it. Do it. Do what you gotta do. But I'm not gonna sit here and go through this with y'all. And this is the attitude. I mean, I understand why he didn't have this attitude in the beginning, because he really wanted to see. But this is another lesson. See, we're learning lessons today, folks. We're seeing things, the decisions you make really do impact your future. Now, Kevin, you sat and basically kissed the ring of this crazy-ass group of people in your party, and now you gagging. Now you're ready to throw your hands up. You should have had this energy in the beginning, but on the quest for power and prestige, you didn't. So, McCarthy is confronting the same stubborn problem that has driven Republicans before him from the speaker's job, trying to lead a ruptured GOP majority that's split between what's left of the traditional party and a harder right element largely allied with former President Donald Trump. Okay? I feel like the Donald Trump effect is going to be around for a very long time. And I think that the Republican Party, in so many ways, thought that they could dance with the devil, not knowing that when you dance with the devil, you are going to get burned and it's going to hurt really bad. And as a result, they are trying to figure out how to dig out of this mess. Because let's face it, a lot of these folks behind closed doors don't really believe half the shit that they're saying. Okay? Nobody, no, a lot of these folks really didn't want to ban abortions. But once again, on the quest for power, they do that. And we are seeing how that is backfiring. It's backfiring two ways. It's backfiring in that their constituents and the people who have voted for them are saying, hey, we want a more conservative America, bitch, but hold the fuck up. We ain't trying to, keep babies that we don't want, shit like that. So they're losing on that front. Now, the Republican Party that still essentially has some form of sense is battling with the crazies that they gave the keys to the house, and now they can't get them back. They're chasing around the house trying to get them back, and they can't. This is what happens when you make so many concessions for a title and for prestige. Now you're gagging. So now you have a Speaker of the House who doesn't really want to go through with the impeachment inquiry, but he's now being forced to, of a president whose son has him in hot water, even though he doesn't, as far as we know right now, have anything to do with any of the other issues going on with Hunter Biden. But even if it's not Joe Biden on trial, it is Joe Biden on trial. It's no other way to slice it. Okay? And that's where we are. And Joe Biden has to do something. He has to figure this out. Because we are in a very, very, very tough and stressful place in this country. We just are. So, Joe, I don't know what you got to do, bitch, but you got a little over a year to figure it out. November 2024. We now in September is getting ready to be October. You niece, you better figure it out. And Botox injections and a new makeup job is not going to cut it. Y'all do something right. Now, to add more fuel to the fire, the United Auto Workers went on strike. Okay. So now you got workers from 3 of the major American car companies striking. Okay. 3. Okay. Now, as of, what was that? Thursday night or Friday, effective Friday at midnight, auto workers walked off the job at 3 factories. Okay, this is coming from the New York Times. 3 factories that produce some of the Detroit car makers' most popular vehicles. Okay. Nearly 13,000 members of United Auto Workers at plants in Ohio, Michigan, and Missouri joined early Friday in what the union described as a targeted strike that could expand to more plants if its demands for pay raises of up to 40% and other gains were not met. So basically, here's what the workers want. They want a pay increase of 40%. Now, I don't have a dog in this fight, but I'm just doing some math right now. They want a 40% pay raise, or between 36 and 40% is what they're asking. They also want the pensions to come back. So a lot of companies, and most of you, we're all working class people here, but a lot of you, some of you, that watch may have pensions still, but a lot of folks, especially younger people in the workforce, do not have pensions. Pensions are not something that a lot of companies, not just auto companies, offer anymore. They just don't. A lot of it's been cut off. So they want pensions back. They want different benefits. They have a lot of temp employees at these car factories. I didn't realize, where they're contractors or temps, and some of these people have been contractors and temps for like 6 years, 10 years. And I'm like, how are you a temporary employee for 6 years. That's crazy to me. Insane. Okay? They're getting capped out. Like one lady, I saw her on the news this morning, and she says she's capped out at $19.28, and she hasn't had a raise in about 2 or 3 years. That's crazy. First of all, now in 2000, $19, $20 an hour, you could totally raise a family off of that. But in 2023, like, they paying $15 to work at Target. At least in my region. It may vary because, you know, the rates vary by region. But they pay that much to work at Target and Chick-fil-A and shit. So you got people in warehouses. Like, let's put this in perspective. You got people in warehouses building engines and shit, standing on their feet all day for under $20 an hour. And the car industry has posted record profits. Okay? Their CEOs are getting record bonuses, raises. But you have people on your factory floor who are making under $20 an hour. And I think that's a referendum on where we are in America. Because, you know, back in the day, like my grandparents, you know, even my parents, like a car factory job was coveted. That was something where, you know, historically you got paid well, the benefits was off the chain, you got the pension, you got all that. Well, how do we get from that to you're making just a little bit more over than a retail worker? Like, how did that happen? And I think that speaks to a bigger problem in American culture. People are being squeezed right now. And I am a single person, right? I am a single person with no children. And I do pretty okay, you know. I'm not rich. I'm not, you know, living in the Hollywood Hills, but I'm not doing terrible. And even for me, it is tough. And I often think about what it would be like to have children in this world. That's crazy. So let's take a look, just to put it in perspective, because I know some people are like, well, why strike? You barely making it now. You know, why not get the little bit of money that you have? So, you know, I did my homework, right? We're going to take a look at profits of the top 5 car companies and what their profits were. So first, let's start with Stellantis, one of the companies whose workers have went out on strike, right? They own, like, I believe, Chrysler, Fiat, those kind of cars. In 2021, they had a profit of $2.9 billion. In 2022, bitch, they had a profit of $16.79 billion. From 2021 to 2022, their profits increased by roughly $13 billion, give or take. $16.79 billion in 2022. Ford, they actually took a loss in 2021 of $1.28 billion, but they bounced back and then some in 2022 with profits of $17.93 billion in 2022. Volkswagen, profits in 2021, $10.1 billion. Profits in 2022, $18.18 billion. Toyota, profits in 2021, $21.18 billion. Profits in 2022, $25.37 billion. Mercedes, and this kind of blew me, like I was gagged, because everybody must have a Benz now. Mercedes, profits in 2021, $4.13 billion. Profits in 2022, $27.2 billion. Mercedes profits in 2022 increased by $23 billion, bitch. Now, granted, let's be clear. Mercedes, Toyota, their people ain't on strike. But Ford, Stellantis, their people on strike. And they had record profits. So I have a problem when you are having this much of a gap in profit, this much of an increase, and you have people on your floor who are not even making $20 an hour. That is a problem. And this is why people, because I wanted to be clear, because sometimes we can, in the quest for survival, which I understand, we can be a little bit insensitive to why people go on strike. But when you look at those numbers, now we might have a better understanding. It's terrible. And people should not be having to go through this. Okay? It's terrible. So the president came out. He's saying, keep negotiating. He is a pro-union president, all this good stuff. He basically supported the workers because they have been getting record profits. And when you look at these profits, it's a direct correlation to the pandemic. It's a direct correlation for the pandemic. Now, these people were coming into work, okay? They were coming into work during the pandemic, risking their health to build these goddamn cars. People during the pandemic started buying more cars. We know this because the used car market went through the roof. Everybody was talking about that. Used cars was starting to get more expensive than the new motherfucking cars. Okay? And you see that. You directly see it in the profit margin. It's not a question. It's not a hypothesis. It's not a conspiracy theory. It is a fact. It is in the numbers. Okay? So pay these people. Pay them. Now, I'm going to keep it real with you. I think that they will get close with the pay increase. I don't think they're going to bring back pensions, niece. I just, that's a hill that they might have to knock down on, because the pension part, I don't think that's happening. But the pay increase based off these profits, I definitely think that that's realistic. Also, too, start making these people full-time. Why are these people still temp workers? You have these people working. The one lady on the news says she works 10 hours a day, 6 days a week. And then an hour before she gets off, they also have the option to come around and say you have to work for an additional 2 hours. Where's the work-life balance? 6 days a week at 10. What is that? When does she see her children? So let's just think about that piece and how that all entails. One last thing I do want to speak on, and I wanted to take a look into. Actually, might be 2 more things, but one thing I want to touch base on is the disaster that we've had several disasters. The earthquakes in Morocco, but one disaster that was just, not to say that any disaster is more important than the other, but this flood in Libya. Okay. So earlier this week, Mediterranean storm Daniel caused deadly flooding Sunday in many towns of eastern Libya. But the worst hit was Derna. Two dams in the mountains above the city collapsed, sending floodwaters roaring down the Wadi Derna River and through the city center, sweeping away entire city blocks. As much as a quarter of the city has disappeared. Waves rose as high as 23 feet. For my people internationally, that's 7 meters. Jan Fridis, head of the delegation of the International Committee of the Red Cross, told broadcaster France 24. Okay. One teacher rushed him and his family to the roof of their apartment building, stunned at the volume of water rushing by. It reached the second story of many buildings. They watched people below, including women and children, being washed away. They were screaming, "Help, help." Okay? It was like a Hollywood horror movie. Estimated death toll now, 10,000 people. Anybody not saying that climate change is real is delusional, and they need help. When it's so hot outside during that heat wave in Texas that it's causing the concrete to give people third-degree burns, that's climate change. Waves, 23 feet waves. Now, granted, from reports, the city, that region in Derna, the officials had been neglecting those dams, keeping them up, repairing them for quite some time, over years, decades even. So that definitely contributed to the dams breaking. But 10,000 people just gone. Just gone. That's something that I, as a child, as a teenager, only saw on movies. And I don't mean to get deep, because, you know, we always have a lot of fun here, but I worry about the world that we're inheriting. I feel like as an adult, I'm inheriting a world that is worse than when I came into this world. It is not the world that I was sold or promised as a child. It is scary. It's one of the main reasons why I just don't want to have children, because I don't want to. Why would I bring a child into this? And if you have children or you're having children, I definitely understand that too. I'm not yucking your yum. But for me, I just would not want to bring a new life into this. So my prayers go out. And my sincerest, sympathies go out to the people of Derna and Libya. It's a North African country. It's just sad. But that's where we are. And so I just wanted to spotlight that, because I felt like it wasn't getting enough news coverage for my liking. And anything that I can do, I will definitely assist in that, getting the word out to make people aware. We're going to keep an eye, in other news, on these election interference trials for Trump and his rogues gallery of villains down in Atlanta. Fani Willis is not playing with these people. Although she did hit a snag, because one of the judges in Atlanta did say, "Niece, we're not putting all these people on trial at the same time," which honestly, I totally get that. I know we were swinging for the fences, but that's just not even realistic. 19 people on trial at one time. Like, I support you, sis, but not really. So that's where that is. Yeah. So, to keep up with the channel, of course, make sure you follow Secretary of Shade on YouTube, at Dapper Dan Midas on Instagram, TikTok, and all of your social media outlets. We've got new cameras. As you can see, my new backdrop is coming soon. And we're going to be relaunching at the top of October. Got a new logo coming. I'm excited about that. I can't wait to show it to you. It's coming out really good. And we have a sponsor coming on board, Care for Equity, who will just be helping elevate the show. You'll be seeing more frequent posts. I like to call them Secretary Seconds. That's the name we're going to go through, where it's not so much of a condensed meeting like it is now, where it's like, this long expanded meeting, which I do enjoy those, but also just little quick updates as things come through to keep you guys engaged and informed. I do look at the comments. I see what's going on. And yes, I am working on a lot of different things. I'm spinning a lot of plates right now. But I do enjoy my time with you, and I want to give you a better product. So thank you for still supporting me, still showing up. It is greatly appreciated, but those updates are coming. We already are testing out. I'm actually testing out one of the new cameras today and new lighting systems today. Just make sure we get it right as we increase our production value here on Secretary of Shade. But with that being said, I thank you. It's always a pleasure. I'll be in touch and can't wait to talk to you again. Peace and love.